Okay. Course couldn't make it easy. Couldn't make it routine. I don't know why I expected them to, but they get it done. They get it done in overtime. They need the second possession in overtime to finish it up. 19-16 over the Rams. We complete the sweep of the defending Super Bowl champions. Not that I'm not going to pretend that that's some huge accomplishment. Um, Gino sets almost every quarterback single season franchise record. Um, Walker and Lockett both get to 1,000 yards. We get a Diggs interception in a year that has been really trying for him, really difficult for him, I think. He gets the interception that sets up the game winning score. You've got, Nwosu getting to 10 sacks, I think, and I think Daryl Taylor, I think he might have fallen just short. He might have gotten to like 9.5, but there's definitely some highlights here. Definitely some stuff to celebrate. Shout out to all those guys who made this year better than we expected, better than it was supposed to be. And now we just have to wait to see what happens tonight. And real quick, before I start talking about this game at any further length, I do want to say I do plan on streaming as much of that game as possible. So come to the post game stream tonight, and I'll be watching the Packers Lions, and we'll see what happens and hope things go our way. All we need is a Lions win, man. All we need is one win from the Detroit Lions, and we're good. I'm not going to be able to stream the whole game because I got to eat dinner, but I'm going to stream as much of it as I can, and hopefully we're able to celebrate something at the end of the day because I'll tell you, today, in terms of getting help from other teams that are not the Seahawks, not going terribly well. We did not get a lot of help today, and if we don't get help tonight, then it's over. But for the moment, what I can say is the Seahawks did what they could to help themselves. The Seahawks did what they could to help themselves. And even though it wasn't pretty, it wasn't great, there were definitely parts of the team that impressed me. And like I said, there are a lot of guys on this team that you got to give big ups to. Like I said, Nwosu getting to 10 sacks, a guy who I think his career high before this year was 5. Gino setting all those franchise records for a quarterback, even on a day when he was not very good. I think he may have had one of his worst games as a Seahawks, maybe the worst game he's ever played, setting those marks. Walker getting to 1,000, Lockett getting to 1,000. Metcalf was already at 1,000, but past, future, present right there with those three guys. Wow. Awesome stuff. So it's a happy end to the season. We have a winning record. Now we just have to see if that winning record means playoffs. Now, I'm not going to pretend that this game was great overall, but I will say I think the defense played fairly well. Baker was basically useless. It was a lot like the first game against the Rams, right? It was a lot like that first game against the Rams where they ran the ball well. Today, it was more Cam Akers than it was the fly sweep game. They ran like 2 fly sweeps the whole game, and both were good, but it was mostly Cam Akers grinding out 100 yards, and he's had a really good close to the season here, and proven that he still belongs in this league after it looked like he was just going to have to retire because of that Achilles injury, but he's finally made his way back, and that was definitely an annoyance. Maybe that's an area where you can say, hey, Jordan Brooks wouldn't have let that happen. I don't know, but maybe that's a little bit of a vote of confidence in favor of a guy like Jordan Brooks at least being somewhat effective against the run. Because especially as that game went down, it felt like we were getting blown off the line of scrimmage and there was just nobody in there to really make those tackles. And I know Brooks has not had a very good season, but I don't know. Maybe what Cam Akers did today is a vote of confidence in favor of Brooks being a little bit better than I give him credit for. And Baker, he hit a couple of big third downs. He converted, I think, like a 3rd and 12 at one point, a 3rd and 8. But his game was very similar to the game that John Wolford played against us a month plus ago. 50% completion, very low yardage, made 1 or 2 plays with his legs, but nothing over the top. And at the end of the day, you're looking at it and you're going, thank God the Rams didn't have a competent quarterback. If they had a competent quarterback to pair with that running game, we may have been in trouble. But the pass rush was solid. Multiple guys getting in on the backfield, getting sacks. We ended up with 5 sacks. Other pressures, I think Quentin Jefferson had multiple pressures in this game that led to incomplete passes. A lot of balls getting tipped up in the air, by the way. And look, one of these days, one of those passes is going to boing up in the air, and a Seahawk player is going to be right under it to catch it. Today, it would boing up and go into no man's land. One of these days, man, those boings are going to go up, and a Seahawk is going to catch it. So this was a game where we only had the one turnover in overtime, but it could have been several more. We just need the bounces to start going our way. So the defense, Taylor got his sack. I don't know how well Taylor played overall. I'm going to have to review that a little bit. But Taylor got his sack. Nwosu was making plays in the backfield. I was impressed with him. Tariq got beat a couple times, but he also made a couple plays on the ball. He got hurt, went back in there. When I saw that injury, I thought it was serious, but he came right back in there, gutted it out, and played fine. Kobe Bryant off the blitz. We got to use more of that nickel blitz. That nickel blitz with Kobe Bryant works. He had another sack today, almost had a second. So I'm hoping that if we bring Kobe back in the slot next year, which personally I kind of hope we don't, but if we do, it seems like that works. Just got to do it a little more often. So there was some exciting stuff on that side, and obviously Diggs, who, I mean, those are the plays that Diggs is supposed to make. Everybody's killing Diggs this year a little bit, and I do it sometimes too because he's not a good tackler. He's missed so many tackles this year. He's not what he was last year so far, but that is what Diggs does. He guards center field, and he took away the big play. Now, granted, if Baker throws a good ball, that's a touchdown, game over, but Diggs got over there, made the play. Now, I don't know what he's doing at the end of that play, admittedly, pointing at Wagner, risking a flag, and then running out of bounds, but it worked out. We still won, so I guess we can just kind of point and laugh at it now. But, Jackson, I thought Jackson, he blew contain on that early long Cam Akers run, but after that I thought he settled in and played a pretty decent game. Benefited a little bit from Baker's inaccuracy, but hey, you play who you play. You're not playing Pat Mahomes. You're not playing Josh Allen. You're playing Baker Mayfield, and he's going to miss those throws. So Jackson bounced back after a couple of early struggles, I thought. And this defense, I'm not going to say they played amazing or anything. I don't think they did, but they played really good. And I can hang my hat on that a little bit, that these last two games, maybe you could even say the last 4 games, the defense did play a little bit better. Now, overall, this is going to be probably the worst defense that Pete Carroll's ever had when he's coached here since 2010. And he's had defenses with no talent. He's had defenses with nothing going on. Now, this defense didn't have a lot of talent, but obviously that's something we're going to have to evaluate in the offseason a little bit here. So I don't know what's going to happen with this defense, but I can at least say they finished decently. They struggled to force turnovers all year, but we did get a couple here at the end of the season. And in this case, it absolutely flipped that game. It completely turned that game, getting that turnover. So there are some positive signs here, like the way Darrell Taylor played at the end of the year, much improved. I think Quentin Jefferson actually had a really good final month of the year. And he's a guy who I really thought was going to be moving on after this season. Now I don't know. Maybe he has at least a place in this league. And yeah, I mean, this is the first year for a lot of these guys. Carl Scott, Sean Desai, Clint Hurt. I don't know if we're going to move on from any of them. So if we are indeed riding with them next year, it was good to at least see them do well in this game, in this last month, and give some reason to believe it can get better. So that's the defense. The defense, like I said, they played really good, but you don't go to overtime against a really bad Rams team at home without something going very wrong. And the offense, the process was bad. Geno had to waste multiple timeouts because they couldn't get set in time to get the snap off to, preserve delay of game. We had 3 false starts on the offense in the first 20 minutes, I think. Cross. Geno had one when he lined up at receiver. There was another one too. I can't remember who it was on. It might have been Gabe. But bad process in this game. Didn't look prepared. You're playing at home and you're jumping and you're false starting constantly. Not good. The play calling, I mean, look, I don't know who to put it on. All we do with Ken Walker, we have one of the fastest, most shiftiest running backs in the league, and you run him up the middle over and over and over again. And obviously, Waldron, I don't think Waldron had a very good game, but I look at those play calls and I go, man, that has Pete Carroll's fingerprints all over it. You know, Pete Carroll loves that A gap. Pete Carroll loves that A gap. So I don't know where that came from, but just up the gut over and over and over and over again behind Gabe Jackson, who completely broke down by the end of this game. I think he couldn't do anything right. And Austin Blythe, who has completely broken down for like 3 months. So the process is bad. Gino probably played his worst game of the year, like I said, and I'm not here to completely roast him because he did make some big plays at the end of this game. The run to set us up in a field goal range, he took that big hit. He hit Lockett for that early first down on the game-winning drive. You know, stuff happened. Stuff happened for sure. But he did not look comfortable. He looked very rattled. Looked like he didn't know what he was doing sometimes. That was definitely a game where you look at it and you go, that is the bad Gino. We saw New York Jet Gino a little bit in this game. Bad decisions, bad throws, just the kind of stuff that got him kicked out of New York. Now, when you see that touchdown to Lockett, you see that pass to Colby Parkinson on the game tying drive, you see some of the other throws that he makes in this game, you're like, you know, New York Jet Gino didn't ever do that stuff, and you're like, I don't know how to feel about this guy. And this offseason is going to be very interesting. Seahawks fans are going to be all over the place. Last offseason, we had a war about Russell Wilson. Some people wanted to keep him, some people wanted to trade him. Well, that war is over because Russ played so bad over in Denver this year, nobody wishes we kept him. That's a war that was basically won with no casualties. But now we're going to have this Gino war. Is Gino good enough to give a significant contract to? What is Gino worth, and should we pony up? I don't know. I don't want to judge a guy at his worst, and today Gino was at his worst, but there was a lot on the line today, and what I saw today was a guy who didn't look comfortable, made bad decisions, looked rattled, and it's hard. It's hard to know. I do think a better offensive line would obviously help him a little bit. We need a third wide receiver. Today he's working with guys like Derek Young and Cade Johnson who have never caught passes before. But I don't know. I've always been pretty open-minded on this topic, but for me, that's going to be the most interesting thing this offseason, the Gino war. It's coming. People are going to have very strong opinions about whether or not we should keep Geno Smith. Walker played a great game. I know it was a lot of 2 yards and a cloud of dust, but to me that's a play calling issue. You can't run up the middle behind these guards and, guard Gabe Jackson and Blythe. And when we needed him, Walker came up with some big plays at the end there. He had some long carries. He had a 10-yard reception that I believe got a first down. So shout out to him, one of the best rookie seasons in franchise history, I think. Colby, good game by Colby Parkinson. 2 big catches for him. Lockett, it was really just the one big catch, I guess, and then the one big catch in overtime, but he did his thing. He did what he could. At the end of the day, this was a game where the offensive line felt like it got beat up a little bit. There was a lot of pressure on Geno. Geno didn't play well. You get what you can. So, not a pretty game by this offense at all. Not pretty at all. Frustrating. But they grinded it out. They had to go get the game-winning drive twice because of Myers, who, by the way, I don't know if this is going to quiet the people who want to make him like the highest-paid quarterback in the league, but I hope it does. 2 very makeable field goals the last 2 games he's missed. So, I don't know. That's another war we're going to have this offseason, by the way, guys. The Jason Myers war. And you guys know how I feel about it. But, yeah, he's missed 2 very makeable kicks these last 2 weeks. You would think that would kind of reduce the question down a little bit. I don't know. But they did just enough. Very frustrating. I'm sure that halftime locker room was, people throwing stuff, people yelling. I would have loved to have been a fly on that wall. Shout out to Derek Young, who I thought made some really nice plays in this game. Big plays. Cade Johnson, too. I got to give credit to both of those guys because I've been talking about them for a while now. Like, when are they going to get a target or 2? They got some targets, and they produced. Noah Fant had a couple catches, nothing big. But we got to grind out what we can right now with no Will Dissly. So, at the end of the day, hopefully we get one more chance to prove that we're better than that. But that was one of the worst games of the year for this offense, no doubt, and I hope they can prove themselves better next week. And that's about it. There was some stuff I liked in the offensive play calling, like the Ballore carry. I thought the Nick Ballore carry was cool. He hasn't touched the ball all year, I don't think. So that was definitely a big plus. But overall, man, we can't be running it up A-gap with K9 and Gabe Jackson and Austin Blythe. You get what you get over and over and over again. TFL, TFL, TFL. Sometimes there's a hole, but it's like playing Russian roulette. There's no consistent 5 yards, 6 yards, 5 yards, 6 yards, 4 yards, 6 yards, 7 yards. It's just nothing, 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 10 yards, nothing, 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 30 yards. And that's not a real running game at the end of the day. That leaves you with that leaves you in these difficult situations. So, bottom line is the Seahawks win, riding the back of a really nice defensive performance. Great pass rush. They made some big plays at the end when they really needed to. Baker made a big mistake at the end, and that made all the difference. Geno struggles, makes some big throws at the end, and that was about the only good thing that's happened so far today. I'll talk more about the other stuff later because this video is not about, what happened with Indy, what happened with Arizona, what happened with Denver, but yeah, I don't think I need to tell you guys that we did not get the help that we needed, and now we need help tonight, or else you can kiss it goodbye. So, good season, though. Good season. And if the season ends tonight, I'll do a retrospective video probably tomorrow. But one thing I want to say, no matter what happens now, this is a successful season for the Seahawks. This is a successful season for so many reasons. This is beyond what I think any reasonable person thought was possible. I don't think any reasonable person thought we were going to have a winning record this year. I don't think any reasonable person thought that you're going to see Lockett and Metcalf and Walker go off to this extent. But now we find out if it goes on one more week. But whatever happens tonight, good season. I don't know if this team is good yet, but they're close. If they're not good yet, they are close. And I believe that with a couple of additions, they could become good, and if they hit the offseason the right way, they could become great. And that's all I can ask for after in a season like this, where you let go of two of your most notorious players of all time. Your most notorious quarterback of all time, maybe your most notorious defensive player of all time. You let them go and you get better? Wow. All right. Seahawks win. Ugly game, but we'll take it, and we'll hope it means something tonight. Catch y'all later. Go Hawks. Go Lions. Stream as soon as I can.